As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Picture yourself as a ship tossed around by angry waves. One moment, everything's smooth sailing. The wind's pushing you forward, the sun's warming your face. Then, boom, out of nowhere, a storm hits, and you're just desperately trying to keep your head above water, completely helpless against forces you can't control. Sound familiar? We've all been there, haven't we? We point fingers at the economy, our terrible boss, our messy childhood, or just plain rotten luck for why our lives look the way they do. We treat life like a series of random accidents that just happen to us. But here's a wild thought. What if we've had it completely backwards this whole time? What if you're not the ship being tossed around at all? What if you're actually the captain? Better yet, what if you've been controlling the winds and the sea all along, without even realizing it? More than 100 years ago, a quiet, humble Englishman named James Allen sat down and wrote a tiny book, so small it could slip right into your jacket pocket. He didn't base it on fancy research or complicated science. Instead, it came from deep meditation and his own hard-won life experience. That little book, called As a Man Thinketh, quietly became a sensation. It sold millions of copies and lit the way for leaders, artists, and everyday people trying to take the wheel of their own lives. People call it the grandfather of self-help, the blueprint that inspired countless other books about the power of your mindset. So why has it lasted? Because it holds a truth so beautifully simple, yet so mind-bendingly powerful, that it can completely flip your entire existence upside down. Allen makes a bold promise. We're not victims of our circumstances. We're the architects. He suggests that everything in our lives, our wins, our losses, our happiness, our pain, our health, our bank account, is a direct mirror of what's happening inside our own heads. Today we're going to dive into that powerful idea together. We're not just summarizing this book, we're taking a walk through its wisdom side by side. By the time we're done, you'll understand the fundamental law running your life, and you'll be holding the key to becoming the master of your own destiny, not by trying to change the world around you, but by first transforming the world within you. James Allen kicks things off with one powerful idea, a foundation stone for his entire philosophy. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Let that sink in for a second. It's not as a man wishes or as a man hopes, it's as he thinks. The very center of who we are, our character, is just the total sum of all our thoughts. Nothing in our life just randomly happens. Every single action we take, whether it's a huge calculated decision or a tiny knee-jerk reaction, first started as a hidden seed of thought. Allen gives us this gorgeous metaphor to help it click. He asks us to imagine our mind as a garden. Now, this garden can go one of two ways. You can tend it carefully, or you can let it run completely wild. But here's the kicker. It will never stay empty. Whether you look after it or ignore it, something's going to grow. If you don't deliberately plant beautiful flowers and useful vegetables, then random weed seeds will blow in, take root, and multiply like crazy. Think about your own mind right now. What's growing in there? Are you planting thoughts of courage, kindness, and strength? Or are you letting the weeds of fear, doubt, and resentment completely take over? A gardener doesn't just cross his fingers and hope for beauty. He gets to work. He yanks the weeds, turns the soil, and plants the seeds for the flowers and fruits he actually wants to see. Allen tells us we need to become the master gardener of our own minds. We've got to roll up our sleeves, pull out all those wrong, useless, and toxic thoughts, and deliberately cultivate the thoughts that are right, helpful, and pure. This is where the magic happens, because your outer world, your life, your circumstances, is just a reflection of your inner garden. The two are perfectly in sync. Allen puts it beautifully, environment is but his looking glass. If you glance in the mirror and hate what you see, you don't try to fix the reflection, right? You change yourself. Same thing with your life. If you look around and don't like your circumstances, the answer isn't to battle the circumstances. The answer is to go back to the source, the thoughts that created them in the first place. This is a radical idea, because it puts all the responsibility squarely on our own shoulders. It means where you are right now isn't some cosmic accident. You're there because of the law of your own being. The thoughts you've woven into your character have brought you to this exact spot. There's no such thing as random chance. This even applies especially when, we feel completely out of sync with our surroundings. So often we feel like victims. We think, I don't deserve this. This isn't fair. Alan gently pushes back on this. He says we're only tossed around by circumstances as long as we believe we're just creatures of outside conditions. The moment we realize we're actually creative powers, that we can command the hidden soil and seeds of our being, we become the rightful masters of ourselves. He gives some really clear practical examples of how this plays out. Picture a guy who's dirt poor. He desperately wants to improve his home and his life, but at the same time, he's lazy at work. He feels totally justified in cutting corners and deceiving his boss because he thinks his paycheck is too small. This guy, Alan says, doesn't have the first clue about real prosperity. He's aiming for something good, a better life, but he's constantly feeding the exact cause of his failure by encouraging thoughts of laziness and dishonesty. He's trying to plant flowers while actively watering the weeds of his own misery. Or, think about a rich guy suffering from a painful disease caused by his own overeating. He'll throw money at any doctor who promises a cure, but he absolutely refuses to give up his rich, unhealthy foods. He wants both his gluttonous pleasures and perfect health. He's unwilling to improve himself, so he stays trapped. These examples show us a universal truth. We're constantly trying to change the effect without touching the cause. We want better circumstances, but we won't become better people. We're trying to build a strong, beautiful life with weak, rotten materials. Every thought seed we let take root in the garden of our mind will eventually blossom into an action, and that action will bear the fruit of our circumstances. Good thoughts bear good fruit. Bad thoughts bear bad fruit. It's a law as solid as gravity. A person doesn't end up in jail because of some cruel twist of fate. They end up there because of a long road paved with groveling thoughts and base desires. The criminal thought was secretly nurtured in the heart long before the chance came to act on it. In this sense, circumstance doesn't make the person. It reveals them to themselves. It shows them what they've been growing in their inner garden all along. The implications are staggering. It means we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. Our deepest, most secret thoughts and desires are fed with their own food, whether that food is foul or clean. We are only imprisoned by ourselves. Our thoughts can be the jailers of fate, locking us up when they're base, or they can be angels of freedom, liberating us when they're noble. The world itself is like a kaleidoscope. The thoughts we hold are the colored pieces of glass. With every shift in our thinking, the pattern of our world rearranges itself into a perfectly adjusted picture of our ever-moving thoughts. If you radically change your thoughts, you'll be amazed at how quickly it transforms the actual material conditions of your life. Alan then shows us how different types of thoughts harden into habits, and how those habits solidify into circumstances. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and indecision harden into weak, wishy-washy habits, which solidify into circumstances of failure and helpless dependence. Lazy thoughts harden into habits of sloppiness and dishonesty, which solidify into filth and poverty. Hateful and judgmental thoughts harden into habits of accusation and violence, which solidify into injury and persecution. But the flip side is just as true. Pure thoughts harden into habits of self-control and moderation, which solidify into circumstances of peace and calm. Thoughts of courage, self-reliance, and decisiveness harden into strong habits, which solidify into circumstances of success, abundance, and freedom. And loving, selfless thoughts harden into habits of thinking about others first, which solidify into circumstances of lasting prosperity. You can't directly choose your circumstances, Alan reminds us, but you can choose your thoughts. And in doing so, you indirectly, but absolutely surely, shape your circumstances. This power of thought doesn't just stop at our external world. It has a huge, direct impact on our physical bodies. The body, Alan writes, is the servant of the mind. It's a delicate instrument that responds quickly to the thoughts that hit it. When commanded by negative, destructive thoughts, the body sinks into disease and decay. When directed by joyful, beautiful thoughts, it becomes youthful and vibrant. Sickly thoughts will show up as a sickly body. Think about what anxiety does to your body. It can tear down your entire system, leaving you wide open to disease. Thoughts of fear have literally killed people as quickly as a bullet, and they're constantly killing thousands more, just more slowly. The people who live in fear of disease are exactly the ones who get sick. On the flip side, strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body in strength and grace. A sour face doesn't happen by accident. It's carved by sour thoughts. The wrinkles that mar our faces are drawn by foolishness, passion, and pride. Alan tells a story of a woman he knew who was 96 years old, but had the bright, innocent face of a young girl. And he knew a man not even middle-aged, whose face was twisted into ugliness. One was the result of a sweet and sunny outlook. The other came from passion and bitterness. Just as you can't have a clean, fresh home without letting air and sunshine in, you can't have a strong body and a bright face without freely letting in thoughts of joy, goodwill, and peace. There's no doctor like cheerful thinking for healing the body's problems, and no comfort like goodwill for scattering the shadows of grief. So we see that thought as the master weaver, shaping both the inner fabric of our character and the outer fabric of our circumstances, even molding the physical body we live in. But a powerful tool is only useful if it's pointed in the right direction. A scattered mind, no matter how powerful, accomplishes nothing. This brings us to Alan's next big principle, linking thought with purpose. Until thought is linked with purpose, he says, there is no intelligent accomplishment. For many people, the ship of thought is just allowed to drift aimlessly on life's ocean. They have no central purpose, no fixed destination they're sailing toward. This aimlessness is toxic. People without a central purpose fall easy prey to petty worries, fears, and feeling sorry for themselves. This is weakness, and as Alan reminds us, weakness can't survive in a universe that rewards power. To escape this trap, a person must come up with a legitimate purpose in their heart and set out to accomplish it. This purpose should become the center point of all their thoughts. Whether it's a spiritual ideal or a worldly goal, they must focus their mental energy on that target. It must become their supreme duty. This is the highway to self-control and true focus. Once you've got your purpose, you must mentally map out a straight path to achieving it, looking neither right nor left. Doubts and fears must be ruthlessly kicked out. They're destructive forces. They break up the straight line of effort, making it twisted and useless. Thoughts of doubt and fear have never accomplished anything, and they never will. They always lead to failure. The will to do comes from knowing that we can do. Doubt and fear are the great enemies of that knowledge. Whoever has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. When thought is fearlessly joined with purpose, it becomes a creative force. And this brings us to achievement itself. Alan is crystal clear. Everything a person achieves and everything they fail to achieve is the direct result of their own thoughts. A person's weakness and strength, their purity and impurity, are their own. They're created by themselves, and they can only be changed by themselves. Their suffering and happiness come from within. As they think, so they are. As they continue to think, so they remain. No one else can change your situation for you. A strong person can't help a weaker one, unless that weaker person is willing to be helped. And even then, the weak person must become strong on their own. They must develop the strength they admire in others through their own efforts. A person can only rise, conquer, and achieve by lifting up their thoughts. They can only stay weak and miserable by refusing to lift up their thoughts. Progress and achievement always require sacrifice. But the sacrifice isn't what we usually think. It's the sacrifice of our confused primitive thoughts. Someone whose first thought is of base pleasure can't think clearly or plan systematically. They haven't yet started to control their thoughts, so they're in no position to control their life. A person's worldly success will match the degree to which they sacrifice these lower thoughts and focus their mind on their plans, strengthening their resolve and self-reliance. The higher they lift their thoughts, the stronger and more upright they become, and the greater and more lasting their achievements will be. Achievement of any kind is the crown of effort, the prize of thought. With self-control, determination, and well-directed thought, a person climbs. With animal instincts, laziness, and confused thinking, a person falls. But what fuels this purpose? What inspires us to lift our thoughts to a higher level? This brings us to Allen's most beautiful chapter, Visions and Ideals. The dreamers, he writes, are the saviors of the world. Just as the visible world is held up by the invisible, humanity, through all its struggles and mistakes, is nourished by the beautiful visions of its solitary dreamers. The world is beautiful because they lived. Without them, working humanity would die. Whoever cherishes a beautiful vision, a lofty ideal in their heart, will one day make it real. Columbus cherished a vision of another world, and he discovered it. Copernicus held a vision of a wider universe, and he revealed it. Buddha saw a vision of a spiritual world of perfect peace, and he entered into it. Cherish your visions. Cherish your ideals. Your vision is the promise of what you'll one day become. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you'll eventually reveal. The greatest achievement was at first, and for a while, just a dream. The mighty oak sleeps in the tiny acorn, the bird waits in the egg, and in the highest vision of the soul, a waking angel stirs. Dreams are the seedlings of realities. Allen tells a story to illustrate this. Imagine a young guy, crushed by poverty, stuck for long hours in an unhealthy workshop, with no education or polish. But he dreams of better things. He thinks of intelligence, grace, and beauty. He mentally builds up an ideal life. This vision takes hold of him, and he uses all his spare time and small resources to develop his hidden powers. Pretty soon his mind has changed so much that the workshop can no longer hold him. It's become so out of sync with his new mentality that it falls out of his life like an old coat tossed aside. Years later, we see this young guy as a grown man. He's a master of mental forces, wielding worldwide influence. He's made real the vision of his youth. He's become one with his ideal. You too will drift toward what you secretly most love. You'll become as small as your controlling desire, or as great as your dominant dream. The thoughtless and the ignorant talk about luck, fortune, and chance. They see someone get rich and say, "How lucky." They see another become powerful and say, "How chance helped him." What they don't see are the trials, the failures, the struggles, the sacrifices, and the unshakable faith that went into making that vision real. They don't see the long, hard journey. They only see the pleasant destination and call it good fortune. They don't understand the process. They only see the result and call it chance. But there is no chance. In all human affairs, there are efforts, and there are results, and the strength of the effort is the measure of the result. So what's the ultimate result of all this work? What's the final destination for someone who's learned to cultivate their mental garden, to direct their thoughts with purpose, and to live by their highest ideals? The final gem of wisdom is serenity. Calmness of mind, Allen tells us, is the result of long and patient effort in self-control. Its presence is a sign of deep experience and a thorough knowledge of the laws of thought. A person becomes calm to the degree they understand themselves as a thought-evolved being. When you truly get that your own life is the result of your thoughts, you start to understand that others are the result of their thoughts too. You see how things relate internally, the action of cause and effect, and when you see this clearly, You stop fussing and fuming and worrying and grieving. You stay balanced, steady, and serene. The calm person, having learned to govern themselves, knows how to adapt to others. People, in turn, feel their spiritual strength and are drawn to them. The more peaceful someone becomes, the greater their success, influence, and power for good. They're like a shade-giving tree in a desert, or a sheltering rock in a storm. So many of us, as Allen observes, wreck our lives with explosive tempers, uncontrolled grief, and anxieties that blow us around. Only the wise person whose thoughts are controlled and purified can make the winds and storms of the soul obey them. And so the journey that began with a single thought, as a man thinketh, so is he, ends in profound peace. It's a journey of recognizing that you are the master gardener of your soul. It's a journey of grabbing the wheel of your mind, setting a course with a noble purpose, and sailing with unwavering faith in your vision. The final harbor isn't one of frantic achievement, but of deep, lasting calm. Self-control is strength, right thought is mastery, calmness is power. And in the end, it's about being able to say to the storms within your own heart, "Peace, be still." What strikes me most about As a Man Thinketh is its beautiful simplicity. In our modern world, we're drowning in complexity. We have productivity hacks, biohacking, complicated business strategies, and a million different secrets to success. And yet, over 100 years ago, James Allen gave us one single, timeless principle that sits underneath all of them. Your thoughts create your reality. It's a principle that's both incredibly empowering and deeply humbling. It's empowering because it means that right now, at any moment, no matter what your current circumstances look like, you have the power to start changing your life from the inside out. You're never truly a victim. You're holding the creative force of the universe within your own mind. You are the gardener, the weaver, the author of your own story. But it's also humbling because it means we have nowhere to hide. We can't blame the world for our problems anymore. If our life is full of weeds, it's because we let the seeds get planted and never bothered to pull them. The responsibility is completely ours, and that can feel like a heavy weight, especially at first. What I think Allen is offering us isn't a quick fix, but a fundamental shift in how we see things. He's asking us to stop obsessing over the fruits of our life, the results, the circumstances, the external conditions, and start paying attention to the roots. The roots are our thoughts. If the roots are healthy, the fruits will take care of themselves. So how do we actually apply this in real life, today? Here are a few simple actions you can take, inspired by the book. First, become a watcher of your thoughts. For just one day, try to pay attention to what's happening in the garden of your mind. Don't judge yourself, just notice. What kind of thoughts are you watering? Are they thoughts of optimism and strength, or thoughts of fear and complaining? This simple act of awareness is the first step to becoming a conscious gardener. Second, pick one weed and one flower. Identify one negative thought pattern that keeps showing up, a weed that you want to remove. Maybe it's the thought, "I'm not good enough," or "this is too hard." Every time you catch that weed popping up, consciously replace it with a positive, empowering thought, a flower. For example, "I'm capable of learning and growing," or "I can take the next small step." You're starting to actively tend your garden. And third, define a purpose. As Allen taught, thought without purpose is just drifting. Take some time to think about what you want to move toward. It doesn't have to be some grand, lifelong mission. It can be a simple, clear goal for this week or this month. Write it down. Make it the center point of your thoughts. This gives your mental energy direction and focus, turning it from scattered fog into a powerful laser beam. Ultimately, As a Man Thinketh is a beautiful and lasting reminder that the greatest battles aren't fought in the external world, but in the quiet space of our own minds. And the greatest victory isn't conquering the world, but conquering ourselves. That was a deep dive into As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. We've walked through the core ideas today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only ever be a map. The real magic happens when you explore the territory yourself. It's in those quiet moments when a particular story or a simple phrase hits you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book is worth your time and attention. If anything we've talked about today has resonated with you, I really encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you see yourself and the world you create every single day. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the Billionaire's Bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.